Hello everyone, and welcome back to Gathering of Gachas, the only podcast that focuses exclusively on the games your parents don't want you to play. I'm Galen, the SoundGuy Firestone, up way too early for this nonsense.
Good morning, Galen. I'm Kite. How are y'all doing? And hello from the future. It's June 1st here.
I'm Ranakel. I'm up on time. Everything is fine.
And I'm Dez. I'm here. Hi.
Hi.
You are. And really, what else could we ask for?
I'm not sure.
We're definitely all over the place, and it's already May 31st on the other side.
Yup, we're dealing with this across the international date line, which is hilarious.
And here from the future, we're just starting a new month.
Here we're trying to put this one to bed.
Yeah.
But there is only one set time when it comes to the refreshes of the news for our favorite gacha game, starting with FFBE.
So I haven't been
Yep.
getting the FFBE news lately.
Well, there's plenty to talk about today.
Cool,
Yeah.
I look forward to
Great.
hearing it.
Starting with the continuation of the latest esper units. And we've already covered the units and the fact they have interesting exclusive weapons. The way to get the enhancement materials though was different from last time.
Okay,
They are colored blue this time instead of red.
okay, that
well,
doesn't
it's not
sound...
just that.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. So last time what happened is that there was an exploration map, a short one, which gained new stages each time. And after an easy fight, which was kind of samey except for the last one, which was Rampaging Siren, we had materials for the weapon enhancement. This time we have 5 sorts of mini trails, one for each weapon.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
Rampaging Fenrir, Rampaging Shiva. And it's not very hard, but it's sort of mini trials,
Yep.
which is not necessarily a bad way to do things. The only objection I could have regarding those is the timing, because there's another thing we'll talk a bit later during this episode that has 5 mini trails a day.
Yikes.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay.
But
Busy.
yeah, pretty much. But at least
Everybody's
these
pretty
ones, you don't have to overkill them to the moon. It's just one and done. Odin was a bit tougher than the other one as far as I'm concerned. Not just because he has a single target death that was easily tanked and prevented, but there was... he hit pretty hard and in AoE and with both magic and physical, like a real drill, and with enough health to survive a first turn burst. Because it's Odin, so it doesn't have any obvious big elemental mistake either.
And let's be honest, Odin's a bad dude.
He just likes to kill. He just likes to butcher people. I mean,
I will send my complaints to the Odin wagon I pulled.
That sounds like a pretty fair place to put them.
Yeah.
Yeah, with that huge triple cast starting on turn 1 with these crazy modifiers, I can do the same damage as part of a triple chain with Odin Wagon on turn 1 that I do with Regina, which is a finisher, so it's made for this type of comparison. And I'm thinking Enhance Regina, by the way.
Yeah, how's that been working for you?
Well, it's... I haven't really used the more utility part of her recovery, but other than that, it's more mods, And that's all we could ask for, really.
Yeah.
She hits harder, and her job was to hit hard, and somehow that managed to have kept her at least semi-relevant ever since her launch. Because nothing makes sense anymore.
Apparently.
No doubt. And
Speaking of
almost
things
a year now. It's almost a year now since Regina was released.
Yeah. And that's been a pretty consistent part of my roster.
Yeah, it's crazy how some units just really last far beyond what you would think. Far beyond what you would think their shelf life was.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And with ability awakenings, you can still make them go to the top as what you intended to do.
Exactly.
Because over time, we get counterparts or archetypes of another version. Well, we got several Regina type units lately, but with Regina's enhancements. But Regina's enhancement is still good in comparison.
Yeah,
you can still use her.
I mean, the thing is that Regina is still the only one of that type of units that is purely physical. Because Noctis is hybrid, and the two other, Warrior and Sakura, are both magic. She's still the only physical unit like that, so she'll remain relevant at least until Phoenix Jake comes out.
Yeah, it's going to be a long while.
So what you're saying is she's going to remain relevant even past Phoenix Jake's release? Because it's
exactly, Jake. Because she'll have different killers. And right now, those killers are highly valued.
And also because it's Jake.
Right.
For which that matter, yes, I personally don't mind the guy.
I don't like him, neither does Dez. Sort of a recurring joke with us.
Well, me here, he more like he doesn't exist anymore because it's season 3.
Well,
yeah, well,
except he does keep existing because Gumi keeps going back to them, and you keep trying to deny that, despite the fact they keep coming back to them.
Mm-hmm.
I have opinions about the fact that Arcus stopped existing after the start of season 3. But for now, we're not talking about the story, which was updated. For now, let's talk about the little snafu regarding the enhancement in the area.
Yeah,
please, because I have no idea what that was.
A lot of people didn't get the appearance or chance rate-ups for unique and rare passives for all types of weapons, mostly greatsword types, and almost a lot of people blew almost 100 or 100 plus weapon orbs just to enhance them for nothing.
Yeah, and to clarify, the problem was that the unique weapon modifiers and the rare weapon modifiers were appearing, but that's just on some kinds of weapon. I know, for instance, I got my rare bow modifier for a weapon I enhanced, and so that news came as a bit of a surprise.
Yeah. I ran Crimson Saber plus for 15 times. I never got a unique nor a rare.
Yeah. That's a great sword.
Mm-hmm. It's a large sword, great sword. And then certain news suddenly popped up several days later during the first few days of the Aerie event. And they addressed the issue and they said that they're going to compensate with equipment enhancement orb potions, which we got. And for some people, they got compensated with lapis based on the number of orbs they've wasted.
No, I don't think that was based on the numbers of orbs they've wasted. I think that was a lapis compensation based on the number of lapis refreshes they've used.
Oh, right. There, I finally got it. Okay. So
okay.
It was number of lapis used for refreshes. Got it.
So basically, there was a mistake, and they gave everyone general compensation, and for those that spent even more than that, they went on sick and solved the problem this way as well.
You know what? Sure. I can't really complain about that. That seems pretty fair.
Yeah, I mean, we live in a world where even JP gives proper compensation for big problems, apparently.
Yeah, just like what happened in JP just today.
And I know this is a bit far off, but the problem was that some battles couldn't even be started. I think it was an arena problem of sorts. And arena is pretty competitive in JP. Because the rewards are higher, especially in what they colloquially call Whale Week.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
where we get empty prism goals, EX tickets, 5-star EX tickets, even select tickets. They were part of the rewards.
And so what they did basically was to give every single person that participated in Arena, or every single person period, I don't know which one, the rewards from ranking number 1 in JP in Arena, which amounts to a huge amount of resources.
Good lord.
That sounds like a pretty big compensation.
Yeah.
It does.
5,000 lapis, 20 50 stamina pots,
What
20 raid pass, 5 capture cards, 10 STMR tickets, 2 Muggles, and 10 arena tickets.
What the? That's huge.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
What is that?
First place arena, apparently.
Mm-hmm. First place arena for Whale Weeks, is it?
So yeah,
it's still a big shocking compensation, even for JP.
Yeah, that is huge.
Anything that is completely major, it's just a big compensation.
Yeah, I mean, if you do a big mistake, you do something big to compensate. That's literally what compensation means.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much.
So yeah, that's a reasonable response. I'm okay with that. I'd be more okay if the mistake didn't happen in the first place, but
that's not reasonable.
That's exactly.
Like, people make mistakes. Things go wrong. Like, how you handle it is the important part.
And in spite of the news we've had at the beginning of this pandemic about how responses might be slower here and then, they've still been pretty on point. Like, it hasn't necessarily been a response immediately to the day, but by the time a week was spent, any issues were solved and compensated for.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in other news, we said last week, the last episode, there was an 11 rainbow news that appeared, then disappeared. Mm-hmm. It eventually reappeared, and since then the summon happened.
I assume for real this time.
Yep, yes, it's for real. And it is a refined pool. It doesn't have the outdated old units. You can even summon the new units, which are up to Mystical Ice Loswell and War Hero Region onwards. So a lot of people did get the new Dark Visions units during that 11 Rainbow Summon banner. And it's still available until today, because today's the last day prior to this podcast's recording.
Today, as of recording, probably by the time the edited version is released, it will not be up, so just keep that in mind, folks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Today is the 31st of May, as of recording. If you're listening to this after that, this banner is likely closed.
Yep.
And I can confirm that there was indeed very recent unit in the pool, because that's where I got an Azura Axstar.
Oh, okay.
Yay.
Amongst plenty of other things, plenty of STMR materials. Got my first Ravenheart.
Nice.
Oh, I'm still looking for my Fort Malphasy.
Oh, it's good.
I need a blessing eventually. I don't have any I don't have any lapis to do the banner, so I was just praying for the 5-star EX tickets to not kill me from the inside out.
I do have a doubt about something. The last 11 Rainbow Summon, wasn't it 11,000 lapis, because this one was 10,000.
I think it was always been 10,000 lapis.
Okay then. What I know for sure was 10,000 lapis was the omniprism bundle that returned.
Yeah.
And it was the same as last time. Omniprism, 2 10 plus 1 4-star guaranteed tickets. It should be 4-star minimum guaranteed, but mine sure haven't turned anything other than the yellows.
Oof.
And 2 5-star EX tickets plus some fillers for good measure.
The last
It's still
10
a good
plus
bundle.
1, the last 10 plus 1 5-star guaranteed ticket gave me an Ifrit Rain, among other things.
Oh, nice.
And my 4th Seabreeze Dark Fina, which I finally got after 3 years.
I mean,
Which got me
that's
the
Rainbow.
STMR.
That's
Yeah.
a very convenient STMR.
Yeah. And I'm using it in the arena more often now.
I remain very, very glad that we don't have the Summon Fest system, and we can just get units.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, and there's another thing which is tangentially related, which is that there was a summon rate increase, and apparently they're starting to test the waters a little. Because right now, regarding the recent events, we also have a daily login for a week, which give us special tickets, and you can have some more if you purchase a bundle, of course. And the units you summon for on this banner don't have a 5% chance to be rainbow, but an 8% chance.
8% is really big. Actually, I got a Bart's on that ticket today.
Nice.
Haven't got nothing yet, but I mean, that's almost at the point where the 10% rainbow chance tickets aren't special anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can really give you a big oof time. It's still a big clutch for that 10%, but who knows? It's still a limited time.
But of course, when it comes to summoning new units, the newest, freshest units are there. And if you had enough of the esper units, well, tough luck, because there's Vanille with Hecaton Care, and Fang with, I think that's Bahamut?
Yep, that's Bahamut.
Yeah, they decided the Esper units were apparently so awesome it needed to start infecting other games. Stop!
To be fair, Lightning already had Odin with her.
Yeah,
Yep,
I
and
know.
Hope got Alexander.
I don't really care
Yeah.
whose fault it is. It's still stupid. I don't like it. I'm glad Fang is a base 5. I've always liked her. I never felt she got enough credit for actually being, like, good in FF10. Like, a good character.
You mean 13?
In FF13.
13, sorry. Coffee.
No problem. Let's start with Vanille, Daughter of Destiny. First, Terra is weird. Okay, join me on this journey.
Okay. Give me a second to actually do that.
So
Alright.
she has her weird staff tennis racket thing,
Right.
which is a two-handed weapon
Okay.
with 125 magic and 108 spirit.
That's pretty good for a TMR.
It's a whip also.
That's on brand for her, because her stuff was actually, like, very, like, it would do that, like, detach. It was kind of a, like, weaponized
Binding
kendama.
rod. Binding rod.
With
It almost
HP
looks like a
bonus,
fishing rod.
with HP bonus and poison paralyze resistance.
Cool.
So, like, it's not a bad TMR at all. It's just certainly unusual.
Yeah, it's weirdly itemized, clearly.
Yeah, but given that it's geared for support characters mostly, I think it's not a bad item at all.
No, it's got a lot of good utility on there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's magic oriented too, so we got magical
Well-
whip users too.
Yeah, but a lot of them have better whips when it comes to pure power.
Summer whip.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, that's an STMR
That's
as
an
well.
STMR,
Like, this is
yeah,
just
exactly.
a TMR.
Speaking of STMRs, hers is a materia with 60% magic and spirit. We like that. Resistance to stop, yes, but only 50%.
That's still,
Yikes.
like, that could be stacked with something. That's not
Yeah,
awful to
it's
have.
stackable with Shiva. Shiva stop.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so that just means she likes Shiva. That's cool.
Yep.
I
Since
mean,
Hecaton
Shiva would
sure
probably
doesn't
like her
exist in
right
this
back.
game.
Oh, and also it has 1 stack of guts, which is
Cool.
great.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So yeah, not a bad set of items. Not the raw power kind of thing, but the kind of utility you equip every now and then, and you're like, oh, I had that. That's right. As for the unit herself, well, she's a bit of a mage with Chaos Wave Awakened chains for Earth and Wind. Though that's not her main focus, her main utility. Having Wind Chaos Wave Awakened and Earth Chaos Wave Awakened magic is pretty great in itself, though, because even if the modifiers and the stats aren't all that high, it's the only other Chaos Wave Awakened Earth Elemental mage. The first one being, of course, CG Dakfina.
Okay.
So now she has an elemental partner.
Wow, like, I'm seeing this giant through line to, hey, we all like Shiva here.
Huh. And, her main utility isn't as a mage, however, it's as a breaker. She has full 80% breaks available turn 1, along with a 120% Earth in Peril on a cooldown.
Nice.
And she has a refresh for the 80% full breaks for 4 turns on her LB, which is pretty cheap.
Yeah.
She also has the ability to Earth imbue everyone in the party, along with some mitigation, some stat buffs, along with stat breaks. She's a pretty solid offensive support.
It does seem that way, yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then we have Graceful Champion Fang.
Now we are
So-
talking. Please be good. Please be good.
Okay, let's start with the item. Her TMR is 135 attack spear with 25% Dragon Killer.
That seems
So
low.
it's utterly unremarkable.
Yeah, I was about to say, that seems like, I feel
And
like...
it's two-handed too. And it's also a two-handed weapon.
Yeah, only 135 on a two-handed seems really underwhelming compared to some of the things you can get.
Such as, for instance, Kimari's free STMR.
Yeah. That seems like that would be a good fit for her, honestly.
And I'm gonna tell more about why it's But after Rana told us more about her STMR and her other kit.
Sounds good. The STMR in question being pretty solid. So the STMR is pretty solid. 70% attack with a spear. That's already a nice base.
Yeah.
And then you add 100% jump damage. We love to stack jump damage. That's
Yep.
how big bursts happen.
Yep.
Yep.
So you might already have guessed that she's a bit of a dragoon.
Yeah.
She is, obviously.
Oh, that is interesting, the way Highwind works.
She does have chains, however.
Yeah.
Absolute Mirror of Equity chains. Pretty solid ones, too. Like, she's not completely useless if she's, say, stuck on the ground because you're fighting Shinryu.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But-
Or Tiamat.
Exactly. Basically, the dragons that dragoons are supposed to be able to kill, but can't because the dragon is like, nope, you didn't jump.
That is really obnoxious, and I don't understand why that's a thing.
I hate it.
I'm with you on that.
And indeed, her main jump, High Wind, is a pretty normal time jump, but if you use it after one of her cooldowns, it becomes bigger, and instead of being a one-time hit, it becomes an absolute mirror of equity chaining move.
Yeah.
Which self-caps on top of that.
That's...
So it's almost. It sounds like she's almost like whenever Roberta came out, we almost imagined that she'd be kind of like that, where she could, cap her own chain.
That's not her own chain she caps. She has to chain with somebody else with an mirror of equity chain.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but she isn't like... But it's one of those, like, it's a self-capping chain. It's not one of those where she's just
in that sense, yes. The last move is heavily weighted.
And now about the thing that is extremely weird for Fang. The TMR is two-handed spear, right?
Yeah.
Her trust ability gives her true dual-wield passives.
She doesn't even need the trust ability for that. She also has some naturally, but then she also indeed has the TMR that gives her bonus dual wielding, even though the TMR is a two-handed weapon.
So I'm hearing she actually doesn't like her own TMR.
Exactly.
Well, that's
she needs
bizarre.
her TMR to take full advantage of that.
That's weird and annoying. I don't like that.
We're all okay. Two-handed spear, trust ability, true dual wield. Bing.
Sure.
Confusion here.
Yeah, that is annoying and weird and frustrating. I don't love that.
Yeah.
That's just the biggest con. That's just the biggest con for Fang. If you want to use her, if you really love her, you have to pull 4 of her.
Yeah.
Just to get the full advantage with the STMR. And since Hecaton does not exist in this game, Fang actually has benefits with Bahamut.
Okay, since what doesn't exist?
Hecaton K.
Hecaton was Vanille's, dude.
Yep.
And she doesn't have any esper-related bonuses. Fang has. As for the banner as a whole, as a result, well, they're not bad units. The Dragoon has some strong potential, as most Dragoons do when you have enough gear. And Vanille is one of the best breakers in the game, with some added back pocket utility as a training partner for CG Dakfina.
That's pretty nice.
I wouldn't say that's a high chase banner.
Yeah. Unless you're a big fan of the characters, obviously.
Yeah, because we just had the Esper units, the regular FFV ones, which have some real power behind them, with the enhanced Odin in particular being the top of the charts.
Right.
And as I've said before, we've had an omniprism. Historically, we've had those right before time-limited units and collabs, so maybe we'll get something pretty soon. So overall, the suspicion on this banner is pretty high.
Yeah.
But if you like the characters, there's very much worse units to pull. Now then, shall we talk a bit about Dark Visions?
Sure.
So let's start with the bad news.
Sure.
It's the second iteration of Dark Visions, and they haven't added still the quality of life features the third JP Dark Visions had. Meaning that we don't have the ability to quickly change equipment between levels and to load full party setups.
That's...
I can see why that would be frustrating, yeah.
Not cool.
It is. Because that's an easy way to have your fight take 5 seconds and your setup take 5 hours.
Yup.
Yeah, I remember fights like that.
Yeah.
Annoying.
And there's plenty of that here. The elements for the bosses this time are lightning, earth, water, and wind, eventually culminating in dark tetrasulfide.
Okay.
And it's a tricky one in some aspects, especially for those that want to really cap the damage. Because unless you've had, in particular, tetraphysalis, some of these elements in particular are pretty rare for the mage units. The physical units generally can get away with having to be imbued externally, but mages don't really have that option. So what happens is that there's basically two categories of players. Those that try to make do with the units they have, and if it's just a single Sigil Darkfina and managing to squeeze her chain in the middle of some other non-elemental chain, well, that happens. And then there's the other people. Those that have the Luna unit, which is still one of the best magic damage dealer, even though they're spirit-based. And given the way they do damage, you can actually imbue their weapon and give them elements.
Okay. That sounds... Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good technique. It's clearly one of the best ways to go, and it's convenient because you just have to have one damage dealer for those magic stages. The problem is that it's on a limited unit,
Yeah.
and there's no real alternative to that. Either you have it or you don't.
That's a bit of a shame.
Yeah, and aside from that, there's some pretty rare killers, especially for some of the middle and later stages, where fairy killers are highly valued.
Fairy Killer. That's
Yeah.
not a common one, so I kind of appreciated seeing use.
Yeah, exactly. And in particular, the last 3 stages are a demon, a machine, and a fairy. Regina has demon killers, machine killers, and fairy killers at 200.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Sounds
So-
like somebody might see some use.
Yeah, somebody who just
Exactly.
got enhanced.
Yeah.
Local android causing havoc in dark visions.
Yeah.
So it sounds like the ideal party is Wonder Twins Part 2 and Regina.
Not in the same team. Wonder Twins Part 2 for the magic stages, and Regina for a fair amount of the physical stages. Sigi Noctis also have some of this use, and as far as chainers go, one of the most common option is Irina and Aura Freya, because they both have triple cast Auriel Ray starting on turn 1 for the chain mission.
Ooh. Yeah, that would do it.
Yeah, that's great, except for one little problem. It's an absolute nightmare to chain them.
That sounds about right, yeah.
Yeah.
Remember AR being
yeah,
very
I
tight.
haven't personally finished the stages yet. I've only finished the first 5, and I'm gonna get back to the grind in the coming days. And we'll go a bit more in depth, hopefully next week, regarding Dark Vision's strategies, with hopefully the winner of the Internet competition in the Global Exclusive podcast, where each of the 6 hosts are battling for supremacy, honor, rewards, and now guest spot here. So,
Wow.
good luck to them.
That's going to be
Yep.
fun.
Good luck to you
Oh
guys.
yeah, they also have some bets related to the podcast, where the winner of them all can choose any topic of their choosing for discussion, and the loser of them all have their voice chipmunkified for an episode. So it's pretty high stakes.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Like, I can tell that a lot of USCs were fired in this war.
Goodness
I
gracious.
myself used some for, Odin Wagon, and some more because of Mastermind Song. Because having the killers on Regina is great, having the killers on everyone thanks to Xon is even better.
Yeah, Zon is very, very, very interesting, and I love that heist team. They need to make like a small side game about that heist team. I still say that. I still kind of want to put a pitch to Gumi and be like, "Hey, this is what I want to do."
No harm done in asking. No harm done in asking, but well. Apart from the dark visions, I mean...
Yeah, we were talking about a very sharply, darkly dressed team, so I believe we can have a little shift and instead talk about colors. Can't we?
Yeah. It's really sad to see that Chapter 3 starts like this. Kingdom of Color. But but the world itself has absolutely no color.
Yeah, this time the bad guys decided, you know what? We're going to take your entire textures.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I agree with that move. I feel like that's kind of jank.
Because if you're up to date with Season 3's story, and then you see the name of the next world is it's pretty cool. I like it. And then you see this later on. What would you really feel? I'll leave this on the...
I would really feel like it's a shame I had to literally be spirited away to another world completely separated from existing intrigues to be able to try to stand on my own as a main character.
I'm really sad.
Ouch.
Kingdom of Color, but what the hey?
Look, the way they wrote it, there's no way Fina was going to be able to have, like, there was no way Fina was going to be able to have her own story with Rain anywhere near the picture, so, you know what? Fine.
Yeah, but did she really need to also have a magical flying baby?
I don't know.
What?
No, that's not an exaggeration, by the way.
It's not an exaggeration. It's a part of the Season 3's plot.
No single word that I've uttered has been wrong or distorted.
Oh no, I believe that, but still,
magical flying baby.
Magical flying baby.
Cool.
I have a number of questions about this, and again, I have zero access to...
one of them. It's named Rucka.
Rucka. Why does that sound familiar?
Rucka.
I don't know.
Wasn't there a character named Rucka, R-U-C-K-A? Am I thinking of this game?
I'm not sure. This one is R-O-C-A.
Okay, so that's just a pronunciation thing. We're thinking of two different people.
Yeah.
Yep. And since there's a new member of the team joining the party, they're about to make their stop in this kingdom, which is... It doesn't have any color. First impression, I thought it's snow. I thought it's going to be a snowy world.
A lot of people have said that, but apparently we're just going with magic stuff.
Turns out the world is colorless. It's just plain white background. Not even the place, but even
It's not entirely white, like there's nothing to see. It's more like
it's grayscale.
The Tropic City in Nier Automata.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can see Tropic City.
Forgot about that.
It's a great visually striking part.
It really is.
Another fact, the monsters here are all white-based. Even the Nutkins.
And I believe that's pretty much it for the FFXIII news.
Yep.
Plenty of content.
And plenty of content the last few weeks in Arknights as well, since we didn't cover it last week. So first and foremost, we have 3 brand new free units.
Free?
Free! Well, sort of free. You have to, like, grind for them, but they're completely...
Sort of free!
They're mostly free. The first one is...
You don't have to pull for them, I believe.
You don't have to pull for them at all. You will get them with enough work, period, the end, exclamation point. So, the first one of these that I want to discuss is Durnar. And Durnar is technically a tank. I say technically because she does not act like a tank. She's one of those units...
the kind of tank that mitigates by killing the enemy fast, right?
Correct.
What kind of weapon does it use?
I will explain in a moment. So the trick with Durnar is... so there's a shop, a daily credits shop. You cannot buy these credits with real money. It doesn't work like that. The credits you gain per day are based on things like your clue exchange, which is just part of your base, and how much ambiance you have in your dorms, which is part of your base. And then there are milestones. Now, those milestones used to give 2 different free units. Courier, a Vanguard, and Gaviel, a single target, I believe, healer. I've never used her, so I believe she's single target.
Yeah, I think she has, like, kind of an AoE regen, but
yeah,
it's mostly single target.
These characters are no longer available. If you did not get them before, they have been replaced by Durnar. Durnar, as I said, is a tank who uses an energy blade, which means she does arts damage. She's a mage tank.
She's the White Knight Noel of this game.
Pretty much, except she's not actually that good of a tank. She acts more like... She acts more like a multi-hit guard, like Savage or Spectre, than she does her own class, which is really weird. However, if you get the whole Defender idea out of your head and don't use her like one, she's really awesome. Because again, a melee unit using arts damage is frickin' nice. Those are not common. There's 2 other units who regularly do that. That's Moose and Aesthesia, and a couple of units who do it sporadically, but she's actually, like, every time her skill is up, she does arts damage, which is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the melee and the range units are not placed the same way, right?
Correct.
They have different tiles they can be spawned on, so there are going to be stages where it's just not feasible to cover that region with a mage, because you're going to need a healer in your range spot.
Interesting.
Yep. So she opens up a ton of utility, and she hits really hard. And she ignores defense, but not magic resistance, even though she's a melee unit. This unit's free, guys. Like,
they have some really cool free units in this game.
They really do. This game is very, very, very friendly for free-to-play players. Again, this is a unit that me, with a bunch of 6-star, like banner units, would totally use. So, like, and that's just for spending credits, which you're going to do daily anyway, because it's basically free stuff.
And if you don't spend them, you lose some of them.
Yeah,
so...
you can carry over 300 credits into the next day, so you want to spend down to below 300 to save it for the next day or any day where a lot of good stuff is on the table.
And if your base, especially your dorms, are at decent levels, like mine are, I have 1 level 5 dorm and like 3 level 4s or 4 level.
I have 4 level 4 dorms.
But basically, I'm getting 160 credits a day just from dorms.
Yep. Yeah, I'm getting 100
just from something that passively exists.
Yeah, I'm getting 130 or so right now. I think there's something else I haven't done yet. On the subject of dorms, and this is something that Geister and I talked about earlier, please, 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 Yostar, let us redecorate our reception room. Like, even just cosmetically. Even if it doesn't give us any benefit, just let us do it, just for art's sake. I want people to be comfortable in the reception room. Clue exchanges. I forgot that name for, like, forever. That'd be neat. So, our second free unit and third, both come from the shop voucher shop. And shop vouchers can be farmed by a special stage, and you get a couple, every day. I think you get, like, 5 per day, and then
5 per day and 20 per week.
20 per week, and then you can get 20 per 30 sanity in the top stage of this. So technically you can buy these if you buy a ton of refreshes. And the 2 characters are Breeze, who is a pretty well optimized, full AoE healing, just healer. That's what she does. She heals stuff.
She just heals.
Yeah, she's quite good
That's
at it.
That's what most healers do.
Yeah, but she's actually shockingly devoid of comparatively utility. Like, you know, Nightingale has her shields, and Silence has her drones, and Talopsis has her skill point renewal. Breeze just heals. She just heals. She's good at just healing, so if you need a 5-star raw healer, saving up 600 shop vouchers and just buying her is not the worst decision you can make. Obviously, she's going to pale in comparison to banner units like Nightingale, or I would make a serious argument even Talopsis. But, for a furry unit, she's, like, in the conversation with every other 5- and 6-star unit that's out there. And you could just buy her.
Sometimes
Yeah.
you just need somebody behind the tank's belt.
Pretty much. Pretty much. So, yeah, she's just a healer. I don't know what else to say. If you need a healer, she's good. She will do that job very well. As far as pure healing, probably better than some. The other unit is a little weirder. This guy's name is Ethan, and he's what I've described as a mini Manticore. Now, Manticore is a block 0 guard who basically sits somewhere, barely takes any damage because she has these, like, avoidance and threat reduction abilities, and just sits in a melee space and AoE bombs everything that enters into her attack range, and then adds status effects, either slow or stun, depending on which skill you have her on. Ethan operates similarly, though I think he has poison. Again, completely free. He only costs 150, as opposed to Breeze's 600 shop tokens.
Per copy.
Per copy, yes. That's the other thing. Compared to the prior shop token units, all 6 copies that you need to fully max out their potential are being sold on the shop.
Nice.
Which actually means you can completely max them out, unlike prior units Korra and F Eater, who I lovingly call Fire Eater.
Fire Eater.
Well,
I
yeah.
said nothing.
She's a performer. It makes sense.
I see.
And, yeah, unlike them, you can only buy 1 copy of each of those 2. That is not the case here. That said, unlike those 2, these 2 units are not in the banners at all. Like, the only way you can get them is from shop vouchers. So if you're a completionist, you're going to be grinding shop vouchers for a while. I'm going to be grinding shop vouchers for a while.
Because you're a completionist.
They give me free stuff and good units I can do things with. I'm going to take advantage of that. I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry. I apologize for nothing.
Don't apologize for anything. You do you. You get the units you want.
Darn right.
Especially when they're free.
Especially when they're free.
They're free.
And on the subject of free units, technically we have a 4th. Because we have a new event!
Yay! What kind of event is that?
Code of Brawl is what it's called, which is a very English sort of name. That said, This is an event starring everyone's favorite band of weirdo misfits, Penguin Logistics. Penguin Logistics is pretty interesting. They are a group of absolute weirdos who cause way more mayhem than they absolutely should.
And they're a big, air quotes, logistics company.
Well, a lot of what they do is transit, but because of the way the world is, a lot of that has to be armed transit. So, mailmen need to be packing heat, and in the case of the first of the 2 6-star Penguin Logistics units, Exvius, she is packing submachine guns.
Wow.
Because angels, everybody.
Yeah, no, in this game, angels, or Sancta as they're called, tend to be normal people, and they are the only ones in the world who regularly possess firearms. Most other snipers use some measure of bows.
I mean, sure.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's one way to have a character have avian traits without having to sprout penguin ears, because that would make no sense.
I agree that it would make no sense, but there are actual penguin people in the game, including the quote-unquote owner of Penguin Logistics, not a character you can get, an actual penguin named Emperor, who's a rapper.
And you love him very much, right?
Oh boy, I wish I was kidding. Emperor is weird, because he's a rapper who owns Penguin Logistics and a bunch of other businesses, and he is a crime against waterfowl, because the other penguin character is a summoner named Magellan, who's actually, like, a girl. Also immortal. Yeah, he just can't be killed, and apparently, according to dialogue...
died and just came back to life.
Yeah, according to dialogue, this happens a lot to him. He's Kenny. This character is bizarre and weird, and I hate everything about him. I just need to be clear on that.
They killed Kenny.
They killed Emperor, again, and it didn't take. Again, apparently. This isn't the first time we've heard this. Whatever, fine.
Defense the first time that we actually saw it happen.
Yeah. Anyway,
That's just crazy.
the event itself, getting past the story, well, we'll talk about the story in a minute. The event itself isn't like the last one. There's no grinding involved. The event only gives milestone rewards.
Nice.
That said, there are stage challenges. So if you want the maximum amount of rewards, you can't just get 3 stars. You have to actually do certain objectives in stage, which really makes strategy very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Is it something like only use a single class of operators?
No,
Not
they
yet,
haven't done
although
that.
I've heard that might be coming in the future.
Yeah, I've heard we're probably going to get an event like that in June, where a thing like that is going to be happening. But that's still kind of rumor mill, unconfirmed. No, what it is in this game, in a lot of stages you'll find certain stage items, and you either have to use them or not use them. And I know that seems kind of backwards, but in one stage that does exist, there's an item that actually increases your deploy limit, but it takes forever to charge up, and it costs deploy points to use. So generally speaking, you're not going to use that till the end of the stage. But if you choose not to use that, then you're down a deployment slot, which means one less operator to use, and that makes a gigantic difference.
Oh, interesting.
And yes, I have seen in the challenge list for the second half of the event, which will launch on Wednesday or Tuesday night or something to that degree, one of the challenges is not using these items, which means you're using nerfed deployments.
That's one way to put up a challenge.
Yeah. Not having as many people you can put out there is actually kind of gigantic, considering how,
The challenge stages are usually difficult.
Yeah, the challenge stages are usually difficult, and every operator you have is usually very significant in a stage. Very rarely are you wasting or not using a slot.
Especially on harder stages.
Especially on harder stages. Like, the amount of nonsense we had to go through on the final challenge stage of the last event, Dez damn near lost his mind, and I did the whole thing on stream over 2 days. That wasn't even the final
stage, I don't think.
Yeah, I think that was star 5.
I think that was 5 out of 6. Like, the final stage I had much less difficulty with.
Which was the one that we had to do the squad on? Like the one where where there were 3 lanes and you kind of had to funnel them, and you did like 2 separate lanes and I did 1? Was that 5 or 6?
That was 5.
That was 5. Okay. Still, like, that I had to do that one over like 2 days.
And it took me a lot of potions.
It took all of us, because it counted as a challenge stage, which means it only refunded half your sanity if you failed.
Ooh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is there any restrictions, character restrictions, or you can use anyone on your roster?
Pretty much you can use anyone. Sometimes a stage will automatically deploy certain units.
Also,
usually they're like new or something like that.
Yeah.
And
also some challenge stages will say no X, or an almost worse one is X or Y class has triple deployment cost.
Yeah.
Like that's a point where you may as well not use them.
It's technically you're able to use them, but they're very expensive in those cases.
You'd better have a very interesting deploy point grind strategy to make that one work.
I like that way to make a soft stop on a unit.
Yeah, a soft stop, but it's not like a total stop because very cheap unit, like Exvius, I just mentioned her. Right now my Exvius costs, I believe, 14. Let me see real quick. Yes, 14. So 14 times 3 is 42. That's a lot. 42 is huge. It's doable. It's doable.
And then there are units like Ifrit, who cost, like, what, 34, I think?
Mine is 33, because I actually have a few copies of her, but...
Mine too. But...
Oh, 33, that means you can deploy her since it caps at 99.
Well, it would cap at 99 anyway. There's no functional difference if it triples between 33 and 34. 99 is the max.
Right.
Oh, okay.
If I got her down to 32, however, which is possible at... Is it possible with her? I'm sure it is, because everyone gets 2.
I think
it's possible at potential 5.
6, usually.
6 in her case improves the second talent, which is rude and wrong. Potential 5 in this case. So if I got 2 more copies of her, she would cost 32, which would actually mean she would cap at 96 instead of 99. So that's 3 extra seconds. Generally speaking,
bargain.
Yeah, generally speaking, if casters are tripled, you're not going to be deploying many casters, because they tend to be expensive.
Not unless you make it your challenge to deploy them.
Correct.
Which if you do, good on you.
Which is a perfect segue, because because there were 2 units associated with this event. One is the banner unit, Mastema, who is an angel who doesn't have a gun, which is actually really weird for angels. She's an AoE caster like Ifrit. And she hits like a truck.
Like Ifrit.
Like Ifrit, just in a completely different way, because Ifrit's weird. Ifrit's a weird unit in that she's more of a sniper than most snipers, whereas Mastema is a very traditional AoE range. Fairly short range, less than most archers. Hits in a wave, and she's got some crazy, like, enemy manipulation and crowd control utility. Like, her skills have, like, all this stun stuff, and stuns all enemy units in range and deals X amount of attack depending on skill level per second to afflicted units. That goes for 4 seconds. That's a ton of damage in her attack range.
Yes, it is.
I like everything I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Or her third skill, which gives, which is interesting. Basically, instead of attacking, so normally she attacks a unit, right?
Right.
And will deal damage around that unit.
Splash damage.
Right. With her second skill, which Galen just mentioned, she attacks everything in range.
Which is great.
And will stun them while she's attacking them for, several seconds. And do a lot of damage at the same time.
Yeah.
And then there's her third skill, which turns her attack from... It changes it into, like, ripples, into, like, a wave, kind of, that goes out from her.
Mm-hmm.
To the edge of her range. It'll push back enemies slightly. And, obviously, as it hits them, it will also damage them. And her range is bigger while it goes off, too. So...
Yeah. Put very simply, she has a ton of, like... She doesn't hit as hard, necessarily, as Ifrit, because Ifrit is a fixed-aim flamethrower. You point her in a direction, and everything in that direction dies. So she
doesn't... they're there long enough.
If they're there long enough, yeah. Unfortunately, with her kind of situation, she's borderline niche, but generally speaking, at any stage you can make her work. She will be your top damage dealer, bar none.
Pretty much.
Whereas Mastema is more general use... And is all about, like, enemy, basically prevention and crowd control while still doing a ridiculous amount of damage. Like, at Elite 1, level 38, with 61% trust, she has 619 attack. My other AoE caster is Gray, a 4-star. Let me just find this guy real quick. There's Gray, who is Elite 2, level 28, with 180% trust, and he has a whopping 582. So at, like, almost 80 levels less than Gray, Mastema has 30 more attack. So right out of the gate...
Which is a decent amount.
That is a decent amount, and she's only going to get stronger from here, because I'm going to Elite 2 her at some point, for obvious reasons. She's an absolute monster. So this is our banner unit, who is a really, really good AoE mage, and will basically replace every AoE mage you could possibly have, except Ifrit.
Pretty much.
Because she kind of does everything all the other ones do. Skyfire can stun, Mastema can stun.
Skyfire's stun is more minimal, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, she can still do it, but yeah, that's kind of the point I mean. And, like, Gray can slow? Yeah, Gray can slow. At Elite 2, Mastema just flat out slows everything in her attack range, whether she hits it or not.
Which is a lot of utility.
Yeah, that's humongous.
Plus, I have to say,
Gray's
an
out of a
angel
job.
with demon horns appeals to my inner 15 years old.
Yeah. No, I can agree with that. She has a very interesting look. She's kind of a fallen angel, which is weird because she refuses to say what she actually is, even though clearly she's very close with Exvius, who's like a pure Sancta.
I think I actually saw something...
gives a lot of artwork.
I actually... Yeah, Exu has a lot of artwork.
Oh yeah, Exu is a very popular character.
I'm talking about the pairing.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, obviously.
I actually saw something in the event that basically confirmed that she was a fallen angel.
Yeah, I'm sure. I just don't know how that works, because, like, despite the angel look, there's nothing really angelic about them. The closest thing we have to an angel sheltering people to the afterlife is Executor, who's literally an estate lawyer. That's what he's named for. His whole job is executing, thus the name, last wills and testaments.
Lol.
Yeah.
That game's weird at times.
This game is weird at times. I won't deny that. So I'm not really sure how a fallen angel would work, because that's like saying a fallen Brooklynite. Like, what does that even mean?
A fallen penguin.
No, a fallen penguin is actually a thing we've seen. He gets better.
Unless that penguin keeps on dying every other content.
Basically, he does, which is really bizarre.
It's a pretty.
Or at least so we're told. This is the first time we've seen it on screen, but it totally happened that way. I still love the fact that Executor gets his name not because he's an executioner, but because he's literally an estate executor.
That's a cool twist.
That is. Also, another weird thing is that demons aren't really treated like demons. The Sarkaz, there are some who are treated like outright demons, but there's also a disproportionate amount of Sarkaz healers. So, like, while people will have traits of their, like, animal or mythological background, that doesn't define them at all. And again, Exvius is an angel of guns. She has guns. Her whole thing is guns. Guns and apple pie, the American way. That's Exvius in a nutshell. I'm like, what does this have to do with angels? How do you be a fallen that?
Here's your angel test. Do you like this gun? No.
You're not an angel clearly.
Anymore.
Yeah, so I don't really know how a fallen angel actually works. Like, that's not a logical statement in the context of this game.
It was some kind of a, like, it was in the story, but it was some kind of a, thing about her interaction with, like, the head angel or something.
Yeah, I'm sure it's something like that. We'll find out eventually. This story is very far up its own tuchus, so I'm sure they'll tell us. The
story is kind of overkill.
I
sometimes
kind of hate it and kind of love it. Look, there's parts of the story that I like, but it is so overblown and it is so self-important. Like, this story makes no sense. You have Penguin Logistics, 3 different mafia groups, 2 from not Italy and 1 from not China, a a boss that comes out of kind of nowhere, and I'm not sure what's going on, and it feels like a giant conspiracy, and then Penguin Logistics themselves just seem ancillary to it all, but then suddenly they're the heroes at the very end. Like, I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, and meanwhile, the art style is very inner world in its tone.
It kind of is. It kind of is. This is a very self-important game. A lot of the crew came from former members of the Girls Frontline and Azure Lane teams. And you can really see that.
I've played a little bit of Girls Frontline during the Valhalla event. I recognize a lot of it in this game.
Yeah, a lot of the former crew of that game defected and formed Hypogryph Studios, which became Hypogryph Studios, which developed this game. It is weird. It is very self-important. I'm not cutting it any slack on this. It is a very self-important story.
Very fun game, but yes, very self-important.
Very fun game. 100%. I love playing it. This is definitely a game I play more for the characters and the gameplay than I do the story. I like the characters on an individual basis, how they interact with each other in the context of the overall plot. The overall plot is a mess, and I'm not going to give it any credit for that. Anyway, so that's our banner unit.
It's like an anime where the filler is better than the big plot.
Oh god, yes. The entire Siesta arc was a filler, and that was our last event, the Obsidian Festival, and that was much, much, much better of a story than anything the main story has given us. Like, that was actually, like, fun and on point, and actually had a beginning, middle, and end, and didn't try to throw all sorts of to be continued at us until the very last scene, which threw a bunch of to be continued at us out of nowhere. Frickin' Arknights, man. It's weird like that. Anyway, so that was our banner unit, Mastaba, and then our free unit is Bison, a 5-star tank. He's actually a tank this time.
Ooh.
And he's pretty good at it. He's a tank. He tanks stuff.
Yeah, what do you want me to say? He's a tank, he has high defense. He blocks 3 units.
Wow.
Yeah, a tank that actually tanks. Weird. Yeah, his talent is he gets extra defense, and he gives free extra defense to other people. And he has another skill that gives him more defense, and defense. That's Bison in a nutshell.
I will say one thing that's nice about him is his second skill that gives he basically provokes, right? So
yeah.
Normally, ranged enemy units will attack the most recently deployed unit within their range.
Yeah.
That's just how their targeting works.
So deployment order becomes actually a pretty big part of strategy as a result.
It really does. Obviously, with melee units, it doesn't matter because they're only going to be attacking the one that they're blocked by. But with enemy ranged units, it matters significantly more.
Right.
Bison, basically on his second skill, he will increase his target priority, right? So I believe that means it puts him in first. I haven't had the chance to actually try it yet.
It probably would unless someone else is doing it. I feel like there's someone else who can do that, and I think they
maybe
might
like Nightingale's Cages.
Yeah, Nightingale's Cages. That's what I was thinking of. Nightingale's Cages, I think, will always take top priority.
So I'm not sure how it's going to work, like in relationship to those, but being able to basically ignore, at least for portions of the level, your deployment order.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty big thing, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like it lets you actually get a tank early instead of keeping it for last.
Correct.
Oh, we deploy a unit.
Yes.
Which again means that he's just this really good free unit who just have a decent tank.
Thank you.
Is he Hoshiguma or Saria good? No. Does he need to be? Absolutely not. Would any player, new or otherwise, love to have him? Yes.
Well,
Yeah,
I gladly have it.
I if you have him and you don't have somebody that's going to be better than him, whether they've, been been promoted higher or whatnot, absolutely use him.
Yeah.
He's gonna do the job and he's gonna do it well.
So far, 3 out of 4 event units have been extremely solid. Flamebringer is the only weakness. The more I look at his kit, the more I realize that he just doesn't work. Basically, his defensive stats are actually really low, and for a guy who's supposed to technically go toe-to-toe with bosses as a survival guard, he doesn't. But Grotti works. Ceylon has some very interesting utility, even if her stats are kind of low. And her talent is quasi-useless, which is sad. Hopefully we get more water tile stages at some point in the future, otherwise Ceylon is not going to see much use. Except for her, like, granting resistance to people and preventing,
reducing the duration of stuns and such.
Yeah, which is awesome. Like, that is really needed on some levels. Unfortunately, because of the low stats, she is very squishy.
I'm actually wondering if she would reduce the duration of stuns that are self-inflicted.
You mean like on a Mia or Scotty?
Or Spectre, yeah.
A Spectre, yeah, other Abyssal Hunter.
Survive on its own as well. Big oof.
Big oof, yeah, no, but that was 2 events ago. We're way past operational intelligence now. Ceylon has some cool utility, and then Bison is just a good tank. So, other free units since then have been great, and we all know how much I like Grani, who was our first free event unit.
And we also know that not every unit that's put out is going to be a winner.
Nope, and that's true of any game.
That's true of literally any game.
Yeah, even with that in mind, there seems to be a pretty solid weight of usable unit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Generally speaking, there are very few bad units.
And they do a pretty good job of keeping, most of the units at least not necessarily unique, but usually they kind of have a niche that they will also fill.
Yeah, the game balance in Arknights is something that I really love about it. Because technically both Mastema and Ifrit are AoE mages, and that is a hard technically because their mission profiles are completely different.
And that's the case with pretty much all of the units, whether they give some kind of extra utility, like Ceylon, as we were just mentioning, reduces the duration of stuns on units while her skill is up. So there's a lot of, they do a really good job of making sure the units have something different than the other units that are available in that category.
Yeah. So it ends up becoming a case where you can end up using a wide variety of these units. You can cast a gigantic net, and you could pick units almost at random and probably end up with a halfway decent team, assuming you've actually leveled them to some degree.
And assuming you're picking units from different roles. Although, even that's not necessarily needed sometimes. For instance, I mean...
Well, I mentioned Penguin Girl Magellan before.
But...
Penguin Girl Magellan is such a weird unit as a summoner that she can actually solo some stages.
Yep.
So, sometimes, yeah, just do the thing. It takes a lot of skill, a lot of memorization, and a lot of technical knowledge to pull that off, but it's possible.
Sounds like a challenge run to me.
Yep.
With that said, do we have any more for Arknights right now?
No, I think so, which seems like it's a pretty good time to move on to our next game. What do we have next?
We have War
Divisions.
Now then, let's begin by talking about something we discussed last time about the very hard mission types that was the only source at the time of having farmable armor and accessory enhancement items.
Right.
Well, the week right after, we had a normal Secret Book stage return, where we had the 2 former types of stages, which lets you enhance swords and fists, weapons, and things like that. And a new one of equal difficulty to the other ones, which lets you have ninja blades as well as armor and accessory secret books. So that's a version that won't be horrible to farm because it's very difficult for most parties. So, good news on that. A little bit strange to have the easy fight later and the hard fight first, but nothing too bad.
I mean,
I guess having it that way kind of caters a little bit to whales, you know. If you've already, you know, done all the whaling and maxed out all your units or whatever, then this is a way to kind of improve them more, and then, you know, other
weirdly,
people can do it later.
Weirdly, it kind of reminds me of Arum Vale in FF14, where the first part of that stage is incredibly intense, but once you're through it, it becomes very easy.
I can see that, especially since the level gives you golden equipment.
Huh.
And but it's not quite like that, because we've had our next hard challenge stage, which also gives golden armor recipes.
Okay.
And it's a battle against the Iron Giant.
Oh, hey, that guy. Is he easier or harder than he was in regular FFE?
Harder relative to the game, because he was a pushover in FFE. But
that depends on when you fought him and what units you had.
I suppose I never had any trouble with FFE and personally.
Not necessarily what units, but also what equipment. Whenever I fought him, I did not have full evade.
That's a big one.
I did it, but I didn't have full evade.
Yeah. Which is certainly a very notable factor. Also, it's interesting because the Iron Giant in this game also exists as a summon.
Okay.
Meaning that there's a summon stage where you can normally fight the Iron Giant for summon enhancement items, but this time he's a boss, so maybe we'll have similar other non-top priority espers as bosses or challenges in the future.
Okay.
Next, we have also added difficulties, but this time for two of the main farmable stages, the Growth Egg Chamber, which enhances vision cards, and the XP Chamber, which lets you get higher levels on your units.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, but this was an annoying one, because the way the XP items work, the cubes, is that there's several tiers of them, from bronze to rainbow, but they're not. The better ones don't just give more XP. There's also a limit to the level of units you can feed them. For instance, the bronze cubes only work on units up to level 30. Then you have to move on to silver or above cubes, etc. So that means that, especially given that if you pull a duplicate of a unit, you only get shards, you don't get the actual unit. I only have the majority of my unit at least at level 30, so these items are starting to accumulate a lot. At least this means that the added difficulty is pretty welcome, because it proportionally gives some more higher level cubes. But I can't help but feel a bit annoyed at the fact that the XP after a while is plentiful enough, and this is the only one of the farmable stages that you have to do every day and every month to get some of important mission rewards that gives you world ranking points and the likes. But at least there's a slightly better option for that.
From what you said, it sounds like you have to end up using higher level things to level people after level 30, right?
Yes.
Is there any way in the game to convert like the lower level ones to the higher level ones, or do you just get what you get?
You did the most beautiful transition and you didn't even know it.
Uh-oh.
Let's move on to the Frontline update. bringing up tons of quality of life features, including amongst them the ability to have item conversion, which lets you have upward exchanges, where some items can be traded for a better quality item, downward exchanges, which lets you do the opposite, or equivalent items exchange. For instance, when you have some sword unit enhancement materials, but you really want to enhance your fist wielding unit. So we'll have all of that coming to the next update. And I don't know if it applies to the XP cubes, but if it does, that's great.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. We'll also have some other things that have been added to the news.
Okay.
On the weird side, the animated trailer will be viewable in-game once you've reached a certain chapter. Sure, that's nice. It was a very nice trailer.
Sure. I'm certainly not going to be opposed to that. You know, they put a lot of work into it. May as well be viewable in-game.
Yeah.
Animations are hard, y'all.
Yeah, and that was good quality animation, too.
Yeah.
Then we have the change to aggro, where essentially they will add much more to the internal logic of how hate works, with attacks changing them more dramatically, more...
Does it somehow works like provoking enemies, or?
Yeah, basically the unit with the highest hate is the one that gets attacked by an enemy if the unit is at range.
Wow.
Meaning
So,
that there's
like
a
14.
positioning factor as well. I'm sorry?
So, like 14.
Pretty much. Except since it's a tactical, there's also the fact that if you have a huge hate unit, but it's too far away to be hit, you're still gonna get punched in the squishy. And if you squishy hits a lot, they're going to accumulate aggro on their own. But there's also the fact that some hate-specific actions are going to have more of an effect. Such as the Paladin's Touting Blade, or on the other way around, the Ninja's Hide.
Cool.
We'll also have some improvements to multiplayer quests, including the ability to have your settings saved regarding the speed of the battle, as well as if you want auto battle enabled or not. And most importantly, you will be able to kick players.
Oh, that sounds like a needed buff, the way you were talking about that before.
It really does.
Yeah. Basically, I changed the message I have as a welcome to my multiplayer room to, boy, I can't wait to confirm those results. Because if you are into post-battle screen, but you haven't validated yet, you written in the menu in the lobby as confirming results. And there's always this one guy who is confirming results forever. Probably because of a flub on the side of the server. There's also some other enhancement. The camera moving faster when going over just chaos units that expand their turn. There's less chance to have chicken status because the bravery will reset to 10 after a battle's end. By the way, as a reminder, the chicken status is automatically applied when you're under 10 bravery and transforms you into a literal chicken.
That's exactly the same as it was in Final Fantasy Tactics.
Exactly. The main difference is that when your bravery is too high, they don't start to become heroes on their own.
Yeah, they won't leave your party if you overmanage their stats. Like, too much bravery or too much faith really caused a problem in FF Tactics, which was a weird design choice.
Yeah. Speaking of bravery and faith, the barracks allow you to raise the unit's faith instead of lowering it if you want. Which is great, because it means that units that rely on status effects or mages or healers or characters you want to heal and don't plan to have tanking magic damage, all benefit from it. That is pretty huge. There's also some enhancement on the guild battle side, which are pretty much a UI improvement. There's the equipment improvements, which are amazing because finally we'll be able to choose which type of item we have from the ones we craft them for. So, for instance, you have 2 daggers. You want to make a +1 dagger. Normally, when you do it currently, the +1 dagger has a random type. Now you can choose between the type of the 2 daggers that you crafted from. So if you have one dagger that is assault and one dagger that is dodge, you can say, I want my +1 dagger to be assault or dodge.
Sure.
Okay, that's nice.
Yeah, that suppresses a layer of RNG that probably never should have been here in the first place.
Yeah.
And I think the random nature of the item type will be forgotten the same way in FFBE people forgot that items used to have crafting types. And this is not a feature any of us ever miss.
Yeah. No, I'm very good with that no longer being in that game.
Yeah, especially since the effect of an item type are huge. The difference between a magic type Ragnarok and an assault type Ragnarok, one has 86 attack, the other has 162.
What?
Yeah,
It's only double. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Is that
only
really that big of a
slightly
difference?
More.
it is.
Oh,
Yeah, that
boy.
sounds like a huge quality of life improvement.
Very much so, and pretty much a lot of people that knew this was coming limited to upgrade their item to +4 waiting for this feature. So get ready for even more units with more powerful equipment in your guild battles. Ouch!
Yay.
Hooray!
Oh, and there's also a clear indication of which unit have an item equipped, because if they have it equipped, you can't use them as crafting materials.
Ow.
That's
That's
good to
good.
know that you can't just randomly unequipped people for no good reason.
Yeah.
True.
Then there's also a function to add a vibration at the end of a battle when you're on auto battle. Sure.
I kind of like that. No, that actually makes sense, because if you put your phone down and aren't really paying attention, having a vibration effect could actually get you to pay attention to go, oh, this is done now, let's do another one. That's actually kind of a time saver for the lazy. I actually approve of that.
Do
Yes,
another
doesn't it-
one.
Yeah, I was about to say let's do another one is also automated, I believe.
Yeah, especially since it's going to be enhanced as well, but that's on the future update, so that won't be a part of the update coming at the next maintenance.
Okay.
But to quickly finish with the next maintenance one, we'll also have the ability to have push notification when your Chocobo expeditions are full or when your barracks are empty, which is nice for those who want to refresh those pretty hard.
Yep.
Especially for the Chocobo expeditions, it's easy to forget about them for extended stretches of time, and that's annoying because there's a mission that lasts during a month where you have to pick up after your Chocobo expeditions a certain number of time, and if you're only playing once or a couple of times a day, there's a lot of Chocobo stuff that's left behind, and a lot of mission objectives that aren't accomplished.
Yeah.
And the last part is various UI improvements. But there's also some future updates that are indicated as coming in the next update, such as the ability to set a set number of auto repeats, such as do the stages 12 times, then that's it. The ability, even more amazingly, to decide I want 5 of this item. repeat this stage until I have 5 of this item.
Okay,
Wow,
that's nice.
that looks like something that Brave Frontier does, except for the number of items thing. Auto farming for 12 times or as many times as you like.
Yeah.
That's really convenient.
It can also have you automatically energy restore.
Okay.
And
So it sounds like it's really just doing everything a lot of the old FFBE macros used to do, with the exception of calculating actual items, which is awesome.
oh yeah. But even more awesome, perhaps, is the fact that they've confirmed that we'll have the ability to turn off abilities, specific abilities during auto battle.
Oh, now we're talking.
Nice.
Which means
That's
that you'll have some
excellent.
control over your AI, and that your dumb mount will stop throwing rocks at everybody and start being useful for once.
Chuck a rock is a tank move, darn it!
I mean,
Not
mount
in
is a
this
tank, but
game.
yeah.
Not in this game, or maybe Mont in general.
No, like, mount is a tank, but rock throw is not a tanking move.
Ah,
It is the worst damage move in the game.
No, I'm not surprised. That's what it was back in Tactics
Yeah.
2. You used it for JP farming more than anything else.
Exactly, and JP
Yeah.
doesn't get farmed that way. Oh, and also very relevantly and coming next, we'll have the ability to enter energy saving mode during the auto repeat, so that your phone doesn't overheat and burn while you're farming stages.
I'm
And
completely
your
okay with
battery
that.
doesn't explode. Yay!
yeah.
And I've said it before, FFB already burned one of my phones. I'm very careful about the fact it risks burning another.
Highly understandable.
But yeah, so honestly, with that list of features, that's all the quality of life I wanted that has been confirmed, has been added in the game, either next update or confirmed in a future update.
Or soon TM.
Exactly, or soon TM. So I am very much looking forward to all of that.
It sounds like they're actually paying attention and doing smart and helpful stuff, which is nice.
Yeah. Oh, and one of the things that also confirms they're paying attention is that regarding the added difficulty and rewards for the XP chamber and growth egg chamber, the thing is that the stage of these kinds that people, including me, do the most is the guild farming stage, because a lot of good stuff is costing a lot of guilds. If you want to enhance a character's abilities, an esper, a vision card, if you want to purchase recipes, a lot of them, that demands a lot of guilds, and farming it is only available infinitely on the weekend. So that's already a limitation.
Sounds like Arknights.
Yeah, money is a real thing in Arknights.
And so people want the improved version of that. And it hasn't been confirmed in any in-game news, but at least the English Twitter confirmed that they have transmitted these requests to the higher management. The simple fact that they've told us that in a public space is already pretty good.
That's a good sign. I mean, it definitely seems like they've learned from their early communication mistakes with original FFBE.
Yeah.
I do get that impression.
Like, that's definitely not the kind of communication and information circulation that original FFBE had 3 months into the game.
Yeah.
And I am very thankful for that.
Yeah.
World Division is still a bit of a grind, but now that we're not in the high stress of a limited event, honestly, it's pretty relaxing to have the game run in the background or actively playing it for where things are tighter, like the Iron Giant stages.
Yeah.
And the story continues to develop in interesting ways, so all good.
All good.
Now, I believe we next have some questions that come from our audience. Kite.
Okay.
Yep, it does. Actually, this guy called Anavert Gaden from a friend's server asked me this question 2 weeks ago. I had to save it for the actual recording that we have now. So let's see what his question is to us. This is a game-related question. So he asks, what do you think of Jecht and Zell, both in the mobile games as characters and as characters in their own games? We know Jecht from FF10 and Zell from FF8, so I'm gonna answer this question first, if you guys don't mind.
By all
Go
means.
for it.
Okay, so what I think of Jecht, he's the worst father. But in the mobile games, he's quite okay. He's just not that great in FFBE. As for the city of Romnia, he's much more cooler than I thought. But I got both of his 7-star STMR on FFBE, and then his EX weapon in Dissidia. He's still a niche, pretty fun to use. Story wise for Jecht, he's still a big bully to people, especially to Tidus. Mostly Tidus. So my usual thing for Jecht is just at the okay limit. As for Zell, he's pretty loud. Pretty loud. I played FF8 a lot of times. I know how it feels being picked on Cypher and all that stuff. Well, unfortunately, FFBE has Zell on 4-star base. Everybody else is 5-star base, except for the other miners.
Has Irvine ever come out in Japan? Has Irvine or Selfie ever come out in Japan? I think Selfie did.
Yep, everybody came to Japan already. Squall, Cypher, Fujin, Ragin, and then Selfie, Irvine. They're actually 5-star bases, and Ideya.
Poor Zell.
Yeah.
Poor Zell.
So I take it you pity the character then? Galen.
I'm sorry?
I take it you pity him then?
I like Zell. I always have.
Yeah. He's still an underdog in Dissidia still, but for those who really like him, he's one of the early characters who got his EX weapon and EX weapon plus awakening. He doesn't get much spotlight again until the Burst era. So, as Zell in a mobile game, he's pretty much of an underdog in many ways. As for his own game, of course, in FF8, I like using him a lot, using his limit break and all that. He's still fun to use.
Honestly, my primary team was really Squall, Zell, and Quistis. Occasionally, it's not Quistis or Renoa. Mine
is either Squall, Quistis, Renoa, or replace Renoa with Selfie.
I never liked Selfie. Selfie was the one who was like, you're the character I don't like in this game, and that is still kept to this day, though I haven't played it in a while.
Yeah.
I like to picture Zell as an angry chihuahua nipping at your boots constantly.
Angry chihuahua. Oh.
Ouch.
That hurts. The angry chihuahua.
Yeah, and the thing with that is that you like the character, but you can't deny my comparison either. Can you?
Boy.
I would love to, but unfortunately it has actually been way too long since I played the game for me to actually answer that in a meaningful way. I was a kid last time I played it effectively. Darn.
Well, what about Jecht on this instance? Yeah.
As for Jecht, I like the guy. He's a mess.
FF10 would have been a better. FF10 would have been a better game if we followed Jecht, Orin, and Braska as opposed to the current team.
Absolutely, and he has a lot on his shoulder, and he's completely out of his waters. But tries to keep up his veneer of machismo, and I think there's part of me that can relate to that in some remote way.
Oh,
Yeah. I don't
No.
like it, but I can kind of see that. I don't know. I don't... I mean, again, I'm really not a fan of FF10's cast, kind of in general. And for all of his supposed good as a character, he committed the immoral crime of spawning Tidus.
whoa.
Still, I'll say one of my favorite parts regarding Dissidia NT was the fact that technically Jecht was in the bad guy team, but given that he's not that much of a bad guy, he just goes, well, I'm on my way, I'm going to team up with my son.
Boy,
Yeah.
it's almost like the weird crossover game is a better version of Jecht than the real one.
I mean, it's pretty much a post-game version at this point, except without, the whole death thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because
Oh, well.
apparently characters, main antagonists and main characters in Final Fantasies are as resilient inside games as penguins.
Yeah, to compare penguins in that one.
We're talking about penguins a weird amount today. I blame Penguin Logistics for this.
This podcast is brought to you by Penguin Logistics. Do you need something delivered? Enter code Penguin and have $30 on your delivery.
Ding, ding, ding. Anyway, that's pretty much the questions that I got so far. That's from Aniver Gaden. Thank you very much for that one. If you're going to listen, if you're ever listening today, or once we record this on Anchor FM, Spotify, and YouTube, posted it out, I'm sure you'll be able to hear all of our opinions. As for everybody else, don't hesitate to either drop us a question. I'm usually online on Discord, or just send your questions through the email that we have on our Gathering of Gachas
In
site.
each episode description.
It's going to be at the description. So from answering someone's questions, and we all answered, let's talk about something that's pretty disappointed, but of course it's much more surprising for people who have played Terra Battle ever
That's
since
me.
Yep.
Mhm.
I played it briefly when it started, yeah.
Yeah, it even collabed with FFBE once and never came back, and then they had a sequel, and it didn't even make it through after like the first couple of months.
For those that don't know, Terra Battle is an early-ish gacha game with an interesting battle system where you had to have a limited time of real time to move your units through a grid to force pincer attacks, which sometimes triggers kills and all that. It was an interesting mix of strategy and finger dexterity.
Basically, it was hero-based shogi, for lack of a better term. But
that's in his letter, Hironobu Sakaguchi literally called it pincer shogi.
Yeah. Now, if you didn't catch that from Rana, the pedigree of this game is actually gigantic. It comes to us from Mistwalker, a.k.a. the former Final Fantasy people who left after 9. So it was directed by Hidenobu Sakaguchi, the old master, music by Nobuo Uematsu. Like, these are some familiar names.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And the production quality showed.
It did. Unfortunately, unfortunately, it's a game that I think it kind of caught on, but kind of didn't. I don't know. It lasted a while, but it was very under the radar. You don't hear people talking about it very often.
Yeah. Except for that one time back then when in the Japanese version of FFBE they collabed with that and it never came globally for some reason.
I mean, I think the reason is the game just wasn't popular to justify the collaboration.
Yeah.
That's usually why games are canceled too.
Yeah.
True.
And it's been petering for a while. I'm in the site for the news, and the last post before that talking about new content, it's from October 2018. So it seems like it was on live support for a while now.
Yeah.
And so what's happening is that already at this point, you cannot purchase energy anymore, which is the currency you used for pools. And there will be a suspension gradual of data transfer and then the game. As for we have a message from the producer, so Hironobu Sakaguchi. It is with deep regret that I inform you service for Terra Battle will be terminated. Terra Battle's test version was released in Canada back in September 2014, and the game went on to officially release in the United States, Canada, England, France, Germany, and Spain in October of the same year. Finally, the game was available in Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Macau in April 2015. I am so grateful for all the fans who played Terra Battle for nearly 6 years. It feels as though a conception of the pincer shogi mechanic happened in the distant, nostalgic past. This game was also a first smartphone service-type RPG, gacha game. I personally learned a lot from this experience, and I'm constantly reminded that there are no paths that aren't worth taking. I'm very thankful to have had such an experience. Currently, Miss Walker is hard at work on developing our next title on the Apple Arcade called Fantasian. This game goes back to my roots in the Famicom era, and I plan to bring this to life using dioramas. Development for the game is currently moving at full speed, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Thank you for your continued support.
Wow, it does take back from 2014 until to that point where it just died.
I mean, it's been around forever, and it's one of those that you kind of feel like will be around forever. But 6 years is eternity in gacha time.
Yeah.
So I have to congratulate it for being around as long as it was. I was one of the early adopters, even if it didn't last.
Yeah, same here. And which is what made it a bit confusing when I returned to the game much later on the launch of the sequel, I believe. And there was this usual return strangeness. Well, suddenly units have a special new extra level beyond their free classes with DNA recoding and all of that, which had me completely lost for a time.
I'm sure.
Fair.
So it's not that they just didn't create new systems or try to keep the game fresh in any way, but I suppose after a while they lost speed, and that had an effect on development, and it fits into itself.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And when
Usually if you start slowing... Yeah, I was going to say, if you start slowing down in gachas, it's kind of not a great sign.
No.
Yeah, because it's the kind of situation where when there's 10 games launching, 8 are going to peter out and never see any kind of prosperity. 1 is going to expand through people coming from other sets of games and other interests, and will create a little bit of new space. And the last one is going to eat an existing game.
Yeah, and unfortunately, as much as Terra Battle was kind of in the back of my mind, it does once again come to show that these games aren't going to be here forever, so
True.
Be aware that your investment in both time and, in some cases, real money will eventually come to nothing. The game will eventually stop.
Even if it has a big Final Fantasy names behind it.
Yeah. Because
Absolutely.
we lost Mobius, too. That is a gigantic name in the gacha sphere.
Speaking of Mobius, we're now counting down to 29 days left.
God.
It's gonna be their turn to say goodbye.
Yeah.
Globally.
And we talked about that when they announced it as well.
Yep. It's been around early 2020.
We talked about this a while ago, but this is one of the reasons why I really, even if I'm probably not going to play it, I really appreciate games like Granblue Fantasy Versus, because that is permanent. That's going to be there. Even if the multiplayer goes offline someday, you could still put it in your computer or put it in your console and play like the story mode. You revisit these characters you like. God, I wish more games would do that and actually spin off into actual console or PC titles.
Hard agree, because there's a lot of artistry in a lot of the stories, the settings, even the systems behind them.
Like, I was thinking to myself that Arknights would actually make a pretty killer, like, XCOM clone, like what Gears Tactics is doing.
Yeah. And when you think about it, how crazy is it that we're playing some games that have new character designs every couple of weeks or every month like that? Well, not recently for FFXIII because of the Esper units and the fact there's Final Fantasy units, but still, overall, that's a lot of new designs, and some of them have their fans. And when the game's over, all you have is a half-broken Aegis statue.
Still haven't fixed that. And it's not half broken, it's just flat out broken now.
Yeah.
It's actually busted. I need to put her foot back on.
My condolences.
Thank you. Yeah,
you can do it.
I bought that to remember those good times, but if Aegis had a spin-off that was something that wasn't a gacha game, I would totally pick it up. I miss those characters. If Arknights had a spin-off that was totally not a gacha game, I would play it and pick it up. Honestly, if FFPE tried to condense itself into a traditional FF game without the whole vision summoning thing going on, and just focused on those characters as a party, I would probably pick it up.
And then deride Season 3.
I don't know if I'd deride it. Maybe I'd like it. Who knows? I don't know. Season 2, like, when it first started, I was like, what's going on here? And then about the halfway point, it decided to kick up into high gear, and I'm like, all right, I kind of dig this. And then I stopped playing the game for completely unrelated reasons. And I'm kind of sad that I don't miss that story, but I kind of miss that story.
Yeah, no, Season 2 had some good points.
It really did.
And it had a bad beginning, and it had a bad end. But the middle was really solid.
Well, I haven't played through any of the end, so I have no idea.
But yes, I would absolutely, on my end, also play a weird single-player spin-off of Valkyrie and Atomia, where we could, for instance, have Rist as a main character. Try Ace.
Yeah, almost
Valkyrie
like Valkyrie Profile
Rist.
Yeah, something we should probably have gotten a long time ago.
Yes.
It ended with Silmeria. Where's Rist? Come on.
Well, technically it ended with Covenant of the Plume, which was a weird prequel strategy RPG that I never finished playing, and it was weird.
Ow.
And that it got its episode in Anatomia. Its epilogue, sorry.
Great.
Yep.
We talked about this the other week, but having gacha games with actual non-gacha spin-offs, Granblue Fantasy was able to pull it off, and more power to them for doing so. I almost feel like I should pick up Versus, even if I probably will never play it, just to show support for people actually doing that. Just to go, hey, there's a market for these weird spin-offs. Come give us weird spin-offs of games we're playing so we can keep them after these servers go down, because Terra Battle going down is a shame. It's not a game I played. It's not even a game I feel like I enjoyed. But it's a game I respect, and it's a game that, on some level, I will miss. Because I feel like it deserved better.
It's the same.
It was a nice 6-year ride for them.
Yeah.
I can think of that. So, if anyone here around, or if anyone who's still listening here, still plays Terra Battle, please cherish it.
Yeah. Find a way to cherish your memories, because for me, that took the form of a statue on my desk, and now even that statue is gone. Well, sort of.
Aww.
I may have to eBay another one. I may have to eBay. Like, if I can't repair this one, I may have to eBay a new one and put it back on my desk, because it needs to be on my desk. Or they could just spin it off into a game I can actually play. I'd be okay with that, too.
Okay, and with that, I think that's all the time that we have for today.
Yep. I think it is time we wrapped this thing up. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll be back next week with more of the games you love to hate, and possibly a special guest, we hope.
Let's look forward to that one, guys.
Eternal. Hope is never-ending. Hope!
I don't understand what he just said, but that scared the crap out of me, so I think we're just going to go ahead and wrap here. Have a good one, y'all.
Bye, bye, bye.
Bye, everyone.